friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robby. Welcome back to our channel, Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be talking about the first book I gave to Liz to read, which is Eye of the World by Robert Jordan.
I have a physical copy. Do you want to see it? Please.
Boom!
Look at that, baby.
Really tiny print.
When it's short like that and this long, like that's when you know it's really long.
Was it 800 and something pages?
It
900?
is.
This is a trade paperback, so.
Well, I guess so. It's over 800, but that's with the glossary, so 782. Oh my god, I love that it says the end of the first book of the Wheel of Time. Epic. I will say, as much as this is a lot to read, I got this book because I wanted an actual physical copy of this book because I knew it was going to be a little bit denser than what I normally read, so seeing my progress would really help motivate me. But this size and this feel of this old book is the most satisfying.
Yeah. The
most satisfying thing to me. I love a paperback. I may be in the minority there. I'm not a hardcover gal. I like a paperback. I like to really go with my books. I'm a break the spine kind of gal. So
jeez.
Haters watch out. But I just I need to live in my books.
I really never need to buy you a very valuable special edition.
You can buy me a special edition hardcover and I probably won't touch it. But if you want, if I'm gonna read it, it has to be a paperback.
Good to know. So why don't you give us, and good luck with this, a brief, spoiler-free synopsis of just what this book is about, for anyone who may not have read it before.
He says brief because he knows I am terrible at being brief.
And also it's a really long book with a ton of plot lines.
Book.
So just a very bare bones overview of what is the first book of the Wheel of Time about.
The first book of the Wheel of Time is about a group of friends led by a witch and her bodyguard.
Okay.
I
mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. A group of friends from a small town go on a journey to defeat the big bad, to defeat the Dark One. Boom.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's what the Wheel of Time, the first book, is about. I wonder how we're gonna do this going forward when we're at book 8.
You're gonna be well, we're gonna assume you've all watched the other videos, so
or read the books,
along with us, or read the books. Yes. I did okay.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know how else you could give a synopsis of what is the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, it's a group of 4 friends who go on a journey to save the world.
5.
Oh my god.
The Emmonsfield 5.
The Emmonsfield 5.
Yeah.
It's very, very similar Lord of the Rings vibe.
Yes.
Especially this first one, very much we have created the Fellowship and we're off to save the world from the dark.
This book came out in... When did it come out?
Hold, please.
I want to say the 80s and the 90s.
It's all of that first. This is the
1990.
most satisfying thing. Oh my gosh.
January 15th, 1990.
Similar time
so this
for
book,
Outlander too.
Is that so?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this book came out in the 90s. Obviously, most of the series was being published in the 90s. And it was during a time in fantasy where you couldn't really get anything written or published. You couldn't get anything published if it didn't have very direct parallels to Lord of the Rings, because publishers were afraid that nothing else would work.
That also worked.
And so that's why this book is very, very much like The Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah.
Which, we know we like it.
We do know we like it.
You know?
I will say it's one of my...
Same with A New Hope. We know we like it. Another fandom.
Okay. I will say it's one of my least favorite of the Wheel of Time books, but that's simply because I think that, once Robert Jordan gets to do what he wants to do with his world and gets to expand and spread more, I do think that that's when it really starts to shine.
So this is very much the setup.
Yes, very much. The rest of the books are not going to be like Lord of the Rings, really. Yeah. But yeah, so tell me, did you like it?
I did. I really did. It was...
Even though no one kisses and there's no romance?
Kisses. There's romance that I rolled my eyes at, but we can go into that later. I do miss romance. I find that is when I first started really getting into books. I loved a little bit of romance. That was always a motivating factor for me. I'm a big romance gal. Finding you was the biggest goal I had in my life, unbeknownst to me. But yes, I did. I found different things to focus on than the romance of I found myself sticking with certain characters that interested me, and that motivated me to get through being I want to know Nynaeve's journey. I want to hear more about Moraine. I want to classic all the ladies. I found that motivating over a classic romance. But yeah, no, I really did like it. I really did like it. This is the first book I've ever listened to on audiobook. I started listening to it on audiobook because I was struggling getting into it, and it's something that I really want to read. Outside of this channel, I think even if you hadn't recommended it to me, I know it's a very well-renowned fantasy series, and I want to read those. I read The Lord of the Rings when I was younger. It's something I want to reread. It wasn't something that was necessarily easy for me to read, but I do want to challenge myself to read different types of prose and different types of books. So it's something that was on my list, so I'm glad to have this motivator to get me to start reading it. But I was struggling getting into it, and I really wanted to tackle it, and I know a lot of people that listen to audiobooks, and so I got the newer audiobook, which is narrated by Rosamund Pike, who plays Moiraine in the Wheel of Time TV series. And who doesn't want to listen to Rosamund Pike narrate a book? Nobody. Everybody wants to listen. It's so good. So she was fantastic, and I really found that very enticing. To have the characters and their inner monologues have a voice was really awesome for me. And so I switched between listening to an audiobook, reading on my Kindle while I was like on the treadmill, and then reading the actual physical book when I was like going to bed and whatnot. So we did all the mediums here, and I liked all of them. I think I liked the audiobook the best, which was surprising because I've never read an audiobook before.
Yeah, I'm not a big audiobook person either.
But I'm definitely going to do it for the rest of the series.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Even if I don't know that she's read all of them. I think she's done the second one. She's done the first
two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear the original as well.
Very cool.
Fun game.
That's exciting. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the prose, so you said you struggled a little bit to get into it. Did you find it to be extremely dense, like compared to what you're used to reading, or was it?
Once I got into it, not really. Yeah. I think the biggest struggle for me was understanding the characters and their motivations and how they speak and their like inner monologues. I had a hard time connecting with Rand. So here we go. Hot take. I don't find Rand very interesting.
I don't know that that's a hot take.
Oh, it's not?
I mean...
It's a cold take?
Sure.
Medium take?
Rand is not the perfect protagonist.
I've said this before in our other videos. I really don't often read books written by men. I think because I read mainly romance, and I'm assuming is a field that is very saturated by women authors. I also like reading from a woman's point of view. I am one myself. So I think that was a new perspective for me in general. And not that I haven't read any male written books, but I haven't read as many as I have from a female perspective. And so then not only that, to be in this guy's head, I don't know. I did not, it's not that I didn't like him, I just didn't relate to him. And he is the major protagonist, would you say?
Yeah.
Of the series.
Rand is the main character.
Rand is the main guy.
I mean, there's a million characters, but Rand is the main one.
He is the main guy.
Yeah.
I found myself way more interested in the women classic. I would love to have heard Moraine's side. I would love to be in Nynaeve's head. I would love to be in Egwene's head. Those ladies were great. And of all the men, I would choose Perrin. I would love to have Perrin's perspective. I think he's sweet. I liked him a lot. I like him and Egwene together. I think they're fun. True, I'm going off on a tangent.
No.
I think because I really struggled with Rand's perspective of like not being able to relate to the character. I also like struggle when it's like, and this happens in fantasy all the time. It's not just this book. The like, it couldn't be me. It could never be me. It could never be me. My dad was never lying to me. He would never. I was like, come on. But that's something that is a very, very common trope in fantasy in general. It just so happens that was half of the book with Rand. And so I struggled with that.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I think when him and Matt are together, I enjoyed him a lot more.
That's a very fun section. I really enjoyed that part.
And I think,
they're
and
off
like,
on their own.
poor sad Matt, but like...
Emo Matt.
He's so emo. It's so interesting too, and this is something we could probably talk about later as we get into the series more, because we also have watched the TV series, and I normally will not watch things before reading them, but the TV series seems to be very, very different from the book series, so I'm not too mad about it. But it is really interesting because I loved both actors who have played Matt in the series so far, and I didn't find any interest in Matt in the book, which is fascinating
Matt,
to me.
and Perrin to a lesser extent, but especially
I
Matt,
love Perrin.
is not really characterized much in these first
Sure.
2-ish books. Like, he and the rest of the characters really, like, come online and come alive, like, second, third.
Well, and I know there
book.
are about 14 books in the series.
14.
14 books in the
Plus,
series, so it makes a lot
prequel.
of sense to me that I'm assuming a lot of my opinions and feelings about these characters will change because we have so much to go with them, so much growth, so much journey. So that's just how I'm feeling at this very moment. But yeah, what should I continue going into my character?
No, I was going to ask you, I was going to ask you who your favorite and least favorite characters were. I mean, specifically I was going to ask about the Emmonsfield Five, but also, like, if there are any honorable mentions that you either loved or hated among the secondary cast as well.
Elias
rules.
Elias
So thrilled
is
he's
my
in
man.
the TV show.
Oh my god, so excited.
He's great.
I was reading this and I was like, Robbie, where was the wolf guy? I was like, how was he not in the series? And he's in this
He's in the second season.
2, so we're
Don't worry.
But side characters, I'm fascinated by him and his gruffness and just like, I think that's why I like Perrin, because he is one of the only men in this series who is kind of thrust into embracing his magic. And I find that the magic system is really, really cool. Obviously, that basically only women can channel. Dope.
I mean,
of course they can.
Not technically true, but sure.
Yes, but like that's the recommendation is that only the ladies channel because men will go mad.
Crazy.
Which, again, class, of course. Like art imitates life. Very
okay.
much so. But I think the thing about that I will say that I found frustrating was like there seemed to be a reverence for females being able to channel and access the one power, which is essentially earth magic, which is really cool. And like I called Moraine a witch in the beginning because she's an earth witch. She's freaking awesome. But it's essentially like pulling from the earth's power and all the elements' powers to bring forth this otherworldly magic. Or I guess it's very worldly, very grounded magic, which as someone who is very into, that kind of thing in life, like, generally spiritual meditation, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, it makes it seem, I do love a magic system that I find relatable, that I'm like, oh, I could see that being real. And I found like this was very similar, and I also felt that way in The Name of the Wind. Like that magic system, sure. I was like, oh, this could be real. And I felt that way with this, the one power. But I thought it was slightly frustrating where there was, at first I was like, oh, dope. There's like, these guys are talking very kind of reverently about like, only women can touch this power, like, don't mess with them. But then it really was kind of like, only women can touch the power. Okay. Like, it just, there seems to be a, like, attitude about it, like, oh, the Aes Sedai are, like, so bad and so scary.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And so it was like, I went in from being like, oh, dope, this is awesome. This magic system is so cool. Like, the women have the seat of power. But then every once in a while there was, like, a sentence or a paragraph thrown in that was like,
yeah, well, I mean, normal people, especially people from the Styx, like the Two Rivers, see them as these, like, mythical beings whose entire onus is to just manipulate those around them into doing what they want, whether or not that's actually accurate. So that's the narrative they have in their minds. Sure. Or like, they show up in their town and take away this girl who's never seen again, or comes back 100 years later and she's only 10 years older, and all the people she knew were dead.
See, and I wonder, like, if I'm not, like, the audience for this book, because, and I mean that in, like, Robert Jordan writing it. Like, I don't know that he was writing it for 30-something.
He was not.
Powerful women.
I can almost
like, women who want to power
not.
Other powerful women. Because, and I guess we can go into our favorite characters. I think of the 5, I don't know why I have such a soft heart for Perrin. I really,
Perrin, which is
I think
fascinating because
there was something very interesting about him and Egwene together, and I also, I like Nynaeve. I think she's a little obnoxious and very forceful and bossy, but being a woman myself, I'm like, yeah, checks out. Yeah, do what you need to do. Get it done. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that she is, and it'll be interesting as time goes on to see how I feel about the characters, but she's very no nonsense, and I enjoy that. Coming back to the romance part of it, the part that made me roll my eyes was there's there's very, very, very subtly hinted, like the most subtly hinted, that Lan, who's Moraine's warder, her bodyguard, and Nynaeve are like have a thing, like they're they're attracted to each other, but it is so subtle, and like there's barely anything happens until like near the end of the book, where like out of nowhere, Nynaeve gets highly emotional, which we haven't seen from her at all. In the sad emotional, we've seen her get very angry, gets very emotional because she starts like talking about how potentially her and Lan could get married, and he's like, no, and then she like cries the whole night. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? This is, first of all, I've had nothing from the two of them, like actually nothing, and I'm supposed to believe that this character like is thinking, first of all, immediate marriage, but obviously that very much is probably the time in which this is happening. Yes. And then is like super sad, defeated girl and not fighting for him or them. Like I just don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Okay. So there's that. I also just like it felt so out of place. Like absolutely nothing about that was ever like really even talked about or hinted at. And then it was like from zero to like, but what if the wisdom and the warder get married, and you're also kind of maybe this famous princeling type of character.
Yes,
well.
That is true.
What if we do? And then it's like, no. And then she just cries all night. Which, fair, cry all night, be emotional, but like, what I know about this character, so that was the most romance we got. And then Rand, like, kind of whining about Egwene. And Egwene is ready to romance everyone around. I loved this section with her and Perrin. Maybe this is what I like her and Perrin together. I think they're a very fun pairing. They're both very different, and they bring out something really fun within each other, I think. And I enjoyed when they were with is it the Tinkers?
Yeah.
The Tinkers. When they were with the Tinkers, and Egwene was dancing the night away every night with this boy. Of course she was. Egwene wants to have fun, but Egwene is also powerful. I like Egwene a lot. I'm very interested to see her journey. Obviously, her and Rand are not meant to be together because Min said so. And
Min rules.
Is awesome.
Love Min.
I want more Min, and more Loyal, which we get a lot of Loyal.
Awesome, unbelievable secondary cast. Really, Tam slaps.
Oh, Tam.
I
Rand's
love
dad,
Tom. You
so sweet.
Clearly have mixed feelings about him.
I don't really
I'm
care
obsessed
about
with
Tom. I think Tom's cool.
I think Tom's the best.
I don't know the best.
He's
I
the
think
best.
he's like Tom. I liked Tom, and then but like his like constant suspicion about the Aes Sedai. I was like, okay, get over it.
I was about to say spoiler.
Well, he talks about how it's like his nephew or something like got taken away. I don't remember. Anyways, I like Tom. I just didn't love Tom. I didn't really find him that interesting.
But Rand,
Tam? Hell yeah.
Rand was probably your least favorite of the main cast.
Least favorite.
It's pretty rough.
Absolute least favorite. Sorry, Rand, but
I think it's so funny that you love Perrin so much. Perrin was always kind of meh for me.
Maybe that's why I like him. I think he is a softer of the gentlemen, especially like he is much quicker to embrace his magic because Perrin can commune with wolves, spoiler, which first of all, really cool. And he has a lot less of the back and forth of like, it couldn't be me, blah, blah, blah. And is more of just like, kind of has, more of like a sort of slap in the face from Elias of being like, this is what you are, deal with it or not. And he likes it and is much quicker to embrace it. So that automatically kind of just makes me relate to him a little bit more of like, I'm so interested in where you will go with this.
Sure. It is so funny to me that like what you are clearly looking for in these books, or in just books in general, is like kind of the romance aspect. Yes. Like you're focusing on it. Like the bit with Nynaeve and Lan, I just like breezed past. I'm just like, okay. Like it's very funny to me because romance does happen in these books as we go on, and I am so fascinated to see how you feel about how it plays out.
Oh no!
Yeah, because there's some stuff that happens.
Oh no! I'm scared.
I think you're gonna hate.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm opinionated last. So one of my favorite parts was the Green Man. the like tree god. He was so cool. Again, very Lord of the Rings, very Ent, but with way more power. I thought the vision, the descriptions of like the land and how they went from this waste essentially into this like very lush green land, and he just was this like wise, wonderful character, and him and Loyal together, like the respect they had for these like two kind of ancient beings, ancient-ish, at least Loyal's ancient-ish, but
Yeah.
I loved that part. I thought that was so cool. I really liked the faster paced bits, like when they're in the, is it Shadar Lagoth?
Yeah.
The scary city where Matt takes the dagger.
Matt takes the dagger, yes.
I found myself very like rapidly turning pages during that portion. I liked that action heavy. I'm very, very ready to get to Tarvalon. I want more Aes Sedai. I want more women channeling. I want to get more into that. I want more of that in general. So I'm anticipating that. But from this book so far, yeah, and I thought the wolves, and maybe that's why I like Perrin so much, because some of my favorite parts were like him and Egwene with the wolves,
sure.
and then with the Tinkers as well, because I like seeing the different like societies. Yeah. I really like Elaine. I really like Elaine. For the like one chapter that we meet her in this book, I was like, yeah, okay, like I liked her. Classic. I like the female characters.
You said you love Perrin.
I do love Perrin, and I love
character.
I love Loyal.
That's
I like Lan too, but I think that's only because I really like Lan in the show.
Sure, I guess he hasn't really done much as a character yet.
In the book yet.
Yeah. What would you give this book as a rating, and what would you use as your rating system?
Do we do a heron marked sword?
Sure. How many? That's going to be.
That's a long one. Maybe I was going to say, is there what else is there? What else are there? Any other like talismans in this series that we can think of, or like dark ones?
How many Mytrel out of 5? How many Aes Sedai out of 5 would you give this book?
I would give this book 3 Aes Sedai out of 5.
Okay.
I had a hard time getting into it.
Yeah.
But it's very different from what I'm currently been reading for the past few years, to be honest. So I think the more I get into it, I will, and similarly to like what we said about the other books that we've read, of like, I think the more I get into it, I'll be curious to see how my ratings change. I feel like I've been so harsh with my ratings. I'm not a harsh rater, I feel like. Just being honest. You say 3 is not harsh. I don't know. I feel like anything below 4 feels harsh.
Well, it's interesting because normally the books I read that I pick for myself, I would like think of like a 4 or a 5. Mm-hmm. But that's because I'm specifically picking things that I think I'm going to like. Whereas right now we're both giving each other books that we don't really know if the other person is going to like.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
I would give this book a 4. Out of 5 Aes Sedai.
Aes Sedai. I haven't figured out what that
Very
graphic's
scientific rating system. Would you keep reading this series if it wasn't for this channel? And if you say no, then we can give you another series to read.
No, I would, because it's something I want to tackle.
Okay.
I also now, I think I have my opinions about the characters, and I want to know where they go.
Sure.
And I want to know what they do. And I also am very curious as to, like, how do we beat this big bad? Like, obviously the journey is very, very long.
Yeah.
And this first one seemed like, near the ending, you feel like, okay, we've done it, but we very obviously have not. And so I'm very curious to see what that is and what that leads. And like I said, I want more Aes Sedai. I'm very here for a world in which women have all the magic.
Yeah. /
are the only ones that can handle it. It'll be interesting to see how I feel about that moving forward and how it's handled moving forward. But I'm very intrigued. So yeah, I think I would.
Great.
I think I don't know that I would read it as fast as I currently would like to read it.
Sure.
I think I'd probably take some long breaks because it's pretty dense read.
Which you can also do.
Maybe, we'll see.
Maybe I'll have you read something else in between.
Oh, mystery.
I don't know. Do you have any last thoughts on Wheel of Time?
On Wheel of Time. On the Wheel of Time.
Just take a quick moment to reread it at your leisure.
Yeah, just like, as you do it. Doesn't someone get that, like, Born of Magic in some book where it's like, you can read it so fast?
I mean, in Halloween Town.
Oh my god, you're so right.
Yes, I am. And I think in a lot of other books, actually, but specifically the first thing that comes to mind is Halloween Town 3, or is it the cursed Halloween Town?
Halloween Town High.
No, it's the one when he's in college.
Oh my god, University?
Return to Halloween Town, which is Is it not?
I don't know.
Holy okay. The one that they tried to make us think it was the same.
Yeah, Marnian was not.
Say Marnian was
We're
not.
We're not fools.
Return to Halloween Town. I was totally right. It's the Jesse McCartney song. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if only we could harness that power, then I'd read the thing.
Anyway.
Any final thoughts? I don't think so. It's fun to read the book and watch the series at the same time. It's usually something I wouldn't let myself do, but it's very different. I will say, I do think because there are certain actors that I really liked their portrayal in the series that I automatically went into this assuming that I was going to love.
Yeah.
And I kind of did. I think Nynaeve was the main one of like, I love her in the series. I just love that actress. I think she's great.
Yeah, she's great.
Because I think the character can be a little exhausting, but still, but I was like, Team Nynaeve, like, let's
do it.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I'm excited. I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued by the world and to see how things unfold and where these crazy kids go. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on our next adventure.